Palesa. Joining me now from Lagos, Nigeria is Adetomi Soyinka, Regional Director for Higher Education, Sub-Saharan Africa for the British Council. Adetomi, we've just heard from the previous panel about the changing profile of in-demand jobs and the role of recruitment. Let's move the focus now to the British Council and what you are doing to foster collaboration between industry and academia. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Thank you very much, Jill, and thanks to you and the team at CNBC for having me back at the Future of Education Summit this year. So for British Council, we are very much, we are a supporter of collaboration, engagement, and connections across, critical stakeholder groups within our programs. And we're very much a believer in that African saying where it says, it takes a village, and to solve the problems that we have within the higher education sector won't be the singular responsibility of universities alone, but it's a collective responsibility of multiple stakeholder groups. So through our programs, what we've committed to doing is building a platform where there is that collaboration, there is that connection, there's that engagement across those multiple stakeholder groups, critically between industry and academia. So what we've done is through our programs to set up opportunities for partnership, for cross-engagement, for learning and exchange of knowledge between industry stakeholders and academia. And the reasoning behind that is if industry, and I guess it comes from a place of sitting at a table for several years between those two stakeholder groups and having, lots of discussions being going on within the room and barbs going back and forth, being thrown back and forth between the two groups on who's responsible, who's accountable for, the success of young people. But we, as I said, because we believe that it's a collective responsibility and we're all collectively accountable as the higher education village, we've set up this collaborative platform through our projects to ensure that both industry and academia can work successfully with one another. And so through our projects, the biggest one that we've got running across Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, and Kenya at the moment, we've got partnerships set up where industry stakeholders and universities are required to work with one another to successfully deliver projects which support, which supports the increased success rate of students at the end of the day. What we're looking to do through those projects is to build the capability of universities. So that universities can support, the personal and professional development ambitions of young people. So if young people we want a situation where when young people have gone through the universities, they've got the skills, knowledge, expertise, and networks to be successful in whatever pathway they decide on, whether formal or informal. For that to happen at the scale that we need it to happen, then industry needs to be at the table, having conversations with university around what good looks like, what success looks like, what the relevant curricula should look like, what engagement, what the best kind of engagement to have within the classrooms to ensure that the students are successful. Industry also needs to be at the table so that students are able to successfully test the skills which they have, which they've been gifted essentially within the classrooms, skills they've been taught within the classroom. So industry is part of us actually testing out those skills, testing out the work that we've done through the project. So that's one example of one of the ways that we're doing this. There's several other different projects. So this is a university specific project.
High school is actually very crucial. The preparation at high school level is very crucial to be ready for university and then the leap forward to your career. So what specifically do you find in the high school? Do you find that in Africa we have to do a lot more work with our learners in high school to prepare them?
I think that for Africa, just given the problem that or the obstacles we face, a lot of concentration is put at that sort of higher education and graduate level. But if we're to make significant change and impact, quite a bit of work needs to be done way earlier in the learning cycle. So looking at basic ed, looking at higher, looking at secondary school level, for example. So if we are to make significant changes, and if we are to increase the success rates or the possibilities of success for young people, we need to be intervening much earlier in the education cycle. So quite a bit of work. We're also doing quite a bit of work within secondary schools as well. But then that work is looking at, while more of the work that's been done at the tertiary level now focuses on hard skills and training young people, ensuring that they have the hard and technical skills that they need to be successful in whatever career pathway that they have. A lot of the conversations that are happening at secondary level are looking at the softer skills, so looking at problem solving, critical thinking, working in teams, communication, that sort of thing. And we find that if that is embedded much earlier within the education sort of cycle, there's a higher rate of success much later in life. And that's some of the work that we're doing with our partners through some of our other programs that we're delivering in secondary school.
The future of education, we need to build a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship as well. And that's also something that's very important for the British Council. What are you doing in terms of this?
When you said the future of education, I wish I had a crystal ball to sort of peer into the future of it as well. I'm encouraged by the fact that there is an increased focus on entrepreneurship, on innovation, on ensuring that we foster that culture within our universities. And one of the programs that we work on, that's the main objective of the program. I'm also encouraged by the sort of discussions that are happening across the continent, because those discussions are based on and are reflective of what's happening, people looking at the future world of work and how that's changing significantly. When you think of entrepreneurship, I'm encouraged by the fact that I see shifts when people talk about entrepreneurship and education rather than entrepreneurship as a vocation. They're looking at entrepreneurship as a skill. So in terms of what British Council is doing to further support that shift and move the needle, I would say that through our higher education program platform, Innovation for African Universities, what we've done is to have institutions look critically at what those two terms mean: entrepreneurship and innovation. And we're looking at it through the lens of what's happening with young people post-tertiary education, post-university education. We find that quite a number of them leave the university system and are unable to access jobs. So what we find is, this sort of hustle culture. I'm borrowing the words of a colleague who says across the continent, if we look quite broadly, that we don't have a startup culture, we have a hustle culture. So where we as a stakeholder in the community, the higher education community across sub-Saharan Africa, we're looking at how we can get universities to engage with that process more positively, right? So ensuring that, we sort of boost and build and strengthen that culture of innovation and entrepreneurship within universities. And that looks like several different things in the locations that we're working across. So for example, in Nigeria, where I'm seated, there are conversations going on at policy level around what entrepreneurship education is, and making that shift from looking at it from a vocational lens to looking at it more from a skills lens, right? Entrepreneurship is about problem solving, it's about thinking critically. And if applied in that way, then you have, and infused into the existing curriculum, you have more young people who are able to start build sustainable livelihoods if they want to be job creators, or if they decide that they're going to go the corporate or formal sort of job pathway, they are still successful being entrepreneurs within the organizations that they work with. So that's the work that we're doing. So fostering that culture within universities. I've talked about Nigeria and how, from a policy perspective, those conversations are happening. In South Africa, it's looking at, the conversation has progressed significantly. So it's more around how do they strengthen the tools, resources that are already in existence. And we're working with a variety of stakeholders, universities, enterprise support organizations to ensure that, we can do that successfully through the program that we've got.
So thank you so much, Adetomi Soyinka, Regional Director for Higher Education, Sub-Saharan Africa at the British Council.